All right? So all you have to do is reconcile with conscience. And then you can become an Albert Einstein or a Madame Curie, okay? Or a Mozart, or Stephen Jobs, okay? Well, so there's that. So now talking about conscience, who did I give as an example of conscience? St. Augustine. St. Augustine. He wrote his famous book, The Confessions of St. Augustine. It's been a classic for centuries, ever since what, the 5th century? People have been reading it for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's a good read, and he's honest. He talks about how he messed up, and when he was young, he did a lot of bad things, okay, but there was something that was calling him. Somehow he knew in his heart, and so he was searching for what he knew in his heart, and he eventually found what he was searching for, and it was God, or God found him. So conscience and intuition are the same thing, okay? So I talk about St. Augustine. I have several chapters on St. Augustine, okay? Then I continue talking about intuition and about conscience, what you know in your heart. And I say that through your intuition, you can know God. You can begin to understand things, mathematical, physics, psychology. You begin to see, you begin to realize things, okay? So here's, for example, I have a chapter called Hitch Your Wagon to a Star. And after having laid the groundwork about intuition, I then begin an exploration of the universe and how the universe was made, and about science and about math, and about how God, about the universe that God has created. So it's very philosophical and somewhat scientific, but it's the kind of science that, you know, it's like science for a liberal arts major, okay? So you'll be able to, even if you're not a scientist or a mathematician, there's no problem. It's not a book of formulas and heavy stuff. It's light reading, but it's very philosophical, very beautiful, okay? And what it is meant is to spark realization on your part. When you read some of this, you say, oh, I see. See, then you have your own realizations about such things. There's a very nice introduction to science through intuition. And then you'll see how what scientists have found or discovered. You'll see how some of what they say is not true. They're misguided about some things. But other things are true, and the math is true. You know, the basic math, kinematics, and Maxwell's laws and so forth are true. Well, you'll see how those are true. And you don't have to be a mathematician, you'll just see. Okay? So now, let me just read a little bit something to you. How about if I read the back cover? A Weekend with Einstein and Augustine. We all are looking for love. What if love is at the very ground of our being? What if love has been there all along, but we fail to recognize it? To find this love and its source, author and speaker Roland Trujillo takes us on a weekend tour of the universe with Doctors Albert Einstein and Aurelius Augustine. Fasten your seatbelts, because you will explore outer space, even be present at the creation of the universe. And inner space, our deepest needs for love, fulfillment, and meaning. You will learn of the mystery of time and why it holds the secret to eternal life. You will find out what is the interface between matter and the spiritual source of its creation. And you will discover the interface between human consciousness and divine providence. Okay? A Weekend with Einstein and Augustine. from the introduction. The introduction begins like so. First, there's a quote from Albert Einstein. One had to cram all this stuff into one's mind for examinations, whether one liked it or not. The coercion had such a deterring effect upon me that after I had passed the final examination, I found the consideration of any scientific problem distasteful to me for an entire year. So what he's talking about is how they tried to ruin it. See, instead of allowing him to discover by way of his imagination, which he did anyway, they tried to force him and pressure him and coerce him. You know how it is in school. And it didn't work for him. So he didn't do well in school. But he became Albert Einstein. Okay? This book is about God, His universe, and His people, the human race, created by Him in His image and likeness. It contains clues about God's relationship with the universe He created, and about how He relates to people and how He wants us to relate to each other. It is intended to be heuristic, to help the readers begin to discover for themselves answers to some of life's deepest questions. Imagine that you're going to attend a weekend conference and retreat. It is billed as a weekend of learning, discovery, and personal growth. And you made reservations months in advance for this once-in-a-lifetime event. Held at a beautiful conference center in the woods, it is to be an intimate gathering of no more than 50 attendees. The facilitators are Dr. Albert Einstein and Aurelius Augustine of North Africa. How stimulating it would be. There's a buzz in the audience during the first Friday afternoon conference, and the excitement builds throughout the entire weekend. It lives up to all expectations from the gala opening gathering Friday night, where both Drs. Einstein and Augustine introduce themselves and talk about their current projects, followed by a full Saturday and Sunday of seminars, breakout groups, and learning activities to the closing conference on Sunday afternoon. Well, you can see how I begin. Okay? And then it continues. Intuition, conscience, the great inventors and explorers, the universe, God's relationship with the universe that He created and with His people. Okay? A weekend with Einstein and Augustine.